know what time it is. We are live. We are live. We are live. Life out the narcissism. I got a special guest here with me, and we're going to be talking to you. You know how we bring out the insight, you know how we share motivational insight, inspiration. We want you to heal, we want you to recover. And I want to say this right now. We're not talking about narcissism in a way so you can continue to feel the pain and feel the hurt. But sometimes you got to go and look at this pain and figure out what it is and where it's coming from. We're going to be talking about tonight narcissism and the savior complex. I got a very special guest, my friend, and I also have spent time with him in the workplace, and I've gotten time to get to know him. He's motivational, he's insightful, he's always on social media, lifting people up and just adding more insight to things that I say and others say. He's just a light. Albert Walters II, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Great to be here. Welcome, nation. How y'all doing today? And again, everything he's saying is true, but guess what? My friend right here sitting across from me is just as brilliant, just as uplifting, just as motivational. So you got two people here today who are going to give you some new insights, some new thought process, some ways to think things differently so that, hey, you can travel and navigate through your world differently, betterly, but more abundantly. And that's what it's all about.
Yes, yes, Albert, I love that. You know, we need that insight. A lot of times I read a lot of books, I read and read and read, and people think I'm so smart because I read. I really read to gain a different perspective because it's so easy to get stuck and looking at things one way. And that's why I'm glad that you're here. So we can talk about this narcissism. It's a very popular word, it's very trendy on social media. You know, it's a buzzword also. But what we really want to talk about and help you that's watching, we want you to understand all these different dynamics. You cannot put narcissism in a box. It's so many different things. It's so broad. It can happen in the workplace. It can happen in your family. It can happen with your cousins, your friends. It can happen right in your own home with your spouse, your children, your mom, your dad, your grandma. You can happen in the workplace, anywhere, out in public. You could just be out at the mall, and narcissism is everywhere. We wanted to talk about how to navigate this. Albert, I want to ask you this. We know there's a psychological perspective, we know there's a spiritual, emotional definitions and meanings of narcissism. But when you hear that word narcissism, narcissist, narcissistic, what comes to your mind? What does that mean to you?
Personally, like I said, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a physician, not a counselor, none of those things. I don't have any titles behind my name of that magnitude, but I have life experiences. And what I've noticed is when a person is considered to be narcissistic or have a narcissistic attitude, it is mainly because they have been damaged somewhere in their life, whether it was recently, whether it was something in their early childhood, and that has damaged them to a point that this is a coping mechanism. This is a way for them to be able to deal with the pain that they have. It could be abandonment reasons. It could be other reasons that they are having this situation. But bottom line is they have utilized this as a tool so they can be in control of what is going on in their world. Because bottom line is a person who's considered to be narcissistic is a person who doesn't feel like they have control. And when they take on this persona, this self-centered way of thinking, this allows them to be able to have control over everything that they have in their life. And that's what they want. They're seeking control because if they don't have that control, they feel like they're out of control.
I love that, Albert. I love that. That is so clear. That is so profound when you really think about it, that you want the control because you're really on the inside, you're out of control in so many different ways and so many different things happen. I want to share this. Those that are watching, I have experienced narcissistic relationship with my male friends, and I didn't even know that it was narcissistic. I'm talking about 20 something years ago, and I didn't recognize it. But after I started experiencing what we call narcissistic behavior, narcissism, all these different terms that we use, I realized, man, when I was 16, 17, 18, and 19, my male friends that I was calling brothers, they was actually manipulating and gaslighting me and trying to have that control. Like you said, Albert, I remember there was a situation where I had a best friend that he called me brother, I call him brother. He went through a tragic situation. I moved in with him. I left things behind where I was, things that I had. I was supportive of him because so many times he had been supportive of me. So I just left my hometown, Louisiana. I moved to Mississippi. I became his roommate because he needed support. He needed me to be there with him. And I was there for him. And then at some point, we started to get into it when I began to start focusing more on myself. And Albert, you know what he said one day when we was in the car, when we got to a verbal spar? He said, "You're self-centered. You're self-centered." And that got in me. And I started reflecting like, wait a minute, am I focusing on myself? And we just got so into it. He got so angry with me and upset. And he just started telling me how I always think about myself as this and this and this. And at the time, I didn't know what was happening. I went back, I meditated, and I thought about it. I said, wait a minute. I uprooted my life to move here with you. I didn't have to move here and pay half of the bills to help you out get back on your feet. I came here because I had an opportunity to actually go to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and work on some music and rap and things like that. But I pushed that to the side because he's my brother, my best friend. And then now you're flipping it on me like I'm the one that's self-centered. And at the time, Albert, I promise you, I had no idea that this was narcissistic behavior when they flip the script and flip the blame to you. And so they can have this control. Have you ever seen that in a relationship with a narcissist, any level? It could be romantic, it could be friends, it could be any level. Have you ever seen where they begin to flip things and try to blame you for the issue?
Yes, I've seen it and experienced it. And to this day, I'm going to tell you right now, many people are experiencing and seeing this. This is going throughout the entire planet like a whirlwind. But you touched on something. You left everything that you were doing to go and be with them. See, and that's the start. They talk about, hey, something happened to me, or I'm this type of person. They're going to paint some type of picture, whether it's a beautiful picture they're going to paint, or, oh, they have such a tragedy. There's so much going on in my world. I just need someone there for me. Or, oh, my life is so great. Your life will be great too. They're needing someone they can have underneath their thumb. Now, once you get there, and if it's about them and you put your focus on them, everything is fine. There is no problem. The problem becomes when everyday life comes into the factor. You got to go to work. You got to pay bills. I got to go to school. I want to get my health in order. I want to study something. I'm praying. Whatever the case may be, if it's not linked to them and what they want, now it becomes a problem. So then that's when they flip that script. But here's the thing about that. When they flip it, it's always going to be you. It's always going to be your fault. And when you say something like, hey, I uprooted my life to come help you, as you said, they're going to say something like this. I didn't ask you to. I didn't force you. I didn't twist your arm. I didn't put a gun to your head and make you do this. You did this on your own free will. Now, here's the problem. We did do this on our own free will, but we were manipulated emotionally.
Wow.
That's what a lot of people don't understand. And I tell men and women, get a control of your emotions. Don't live by your emotions. Live off your logic. Do not live off those emotions, because if you're living off those emotions, it's like, what's the word I want to use? It's like blood in the water to a shark. They smell it, they go into a frenzy. And you have a person who's narcissistic and you have a low self-esteem, you're always living off of your emotions, they can manipulate it because they're going to push your buttons. And that's what happened to me. I've had a person push my buttons. Every time I'm in a bad mood. Now I don't want to talk to nobody. And here's what they want to do, really. They want to take you away from family. They want to take you away from friends. They want to take you away from everybody, and you have to depend on them. It's almost like a battered woman situation or a battered spouse situation where you're being battered. You can't go to work. You can't have a cell phone. You can't go nowhere without my permission. You can't wear this, all these different, rules. And if you don't follow a rule, you get battered. Well, with a narcissist, they may not batter you per se. Some may do, but some of them don't. But then guess what? They verbalize you. That's still battery.
Yes.
That's still some type of mistreatment. And so this is what happens, and it spirals and spirals to the point, and this is when they got you. To check this out. When you start doubting yourself.
Wow.
Am I really this way? Now, a clock is right twice. A broken clock is right twice out of a day. A broken clock is wrong all the whole day except for twice. But you start thinking, man, maybe I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Maybe I'm not acting like I'm supposed to act. Well, maybe if I try harder, if I do better,
yes,
they'll accept me more. See, now you hooked to them. You are codependent on them.
yes.
They have turned you out. That's what it is. They have turned you out. They have tricked you. And now you turned out and you hooked. And every time that they say something to you, you go back into that. And that's what that causes. Depression. Now you depressed. You're supposed to be in some type of relationship happy. You depressed. Same way with a job. You're supposed to be at a job making a living and so forth. You now thinking about killing yourself because you had a job that you're miserable at, but you won't leave.
Yes.
Because you're being manipulated emotionally by that person.
Yes.
And that's a horrible thing.
It's very horrible. And you brought out a valid point. It goes back to the control. They're really trying to control your behavior. And I love how you made it very clear that you may be in a relationship with someone who battle you physically, but then you may be in a relationship with someone who battle you verbally on an emotional and psychological level. And I believe that's what keep us on the hook in these relationships, whether it be a family member, whether it be someone that's really close to you. Have you ever been just close to someone because of the past 10, 15 years? But like now when you're around them, you're walking on eggshells. You feel like, well, I got to make sure that I meet their expectations. I got to make sure that I don't make them upset because then I don't want them to battle me again. See, they are training us when we're in these relationships, like you brought out, that verbal abuse. They'll give you a verbal assault and they'll do it in a sarcastic way. They'll do it in a jokingly way. And you know what? Especially in the workplace, I had to put an end to that. People try to get close to you, get familiar with you, and then what they'll do is begin to make jokes at you and say, oh, I was just playing. No, but you said the truth of how you really felt about me.
Yeah.
But you said it in a jokingly way. This is what you're doing. You're taking stabs at me. You're being very critical of me. And somebody right now is watching and they heard what you shared, Albert, and they're trying to figure out, okay, how do I move forward? Okay. You guys are telling me this is what's happening. I resonate with it. You're on the spot. This sounds like some people that I've been in a relationship. What are some things that they can do to begin to make steps toward moving forward from this relationship?
But the problem with that is this. As much as we say, hey, you need to move forward, you got to get over it, etc., and move on. Right. A lot of these bonds, and these are bonds that you have created with these individuals, especially if it's family. Because and I'm just talking now really regarding the African American or Black community. We family. You can't snitch. You better not talk. Water. You can't talk about that. We're family. Stick together. We all we got. And those statements are true. But they also confine you. They shackle you to that person who's going to become narcissistic towards you. Now you're like, but it's really me. And you start feeling like it's you. And then on top of that, you're saying to yourself, but if I leave, I don't know what's going to happen to me. Or you may say something like this, but if I leave, will they be okay? they'll
Yes.
move on. They will move on. If they see they've lost the hold on you, they will blow up and go off on you so badly that you won't come back, that you
Yes.
won't show up, and they'll move on and find somebody else. But if they see that they can continue to string you along, they'll string you along. But we as individuals, we say, oh, I'm leaving. I'm not going to live like this. I'm not going to put up with that. But it's so gradual. I remember one time I
Ooh.
was in the yard and I was in the backyard of the house and I kept putting it off. I'm going to cut the grass. And there was a lot of
Mhm.
weeds back there. It was a lot of weeds. And I was like, I need some of this grass to grow, but the weeds were choking out the grass. And I was like, I'm going to get back here and get to these weeds. I'm going to cut this grass. I'm going to get back to these weeds. And I kept putting it off, kept putting it off, kept putting it off. And this one, it was like a vine. It was growing in the yard, and it had rooted so much into the yard that it was choked out the grass, and it was just this vine was back there. And if you cut it with the lawnmower, it just kept growing. So you literally had to go out and with a tool and pull it up by hand.
Yeah.
I had let it happen so badly that half the yard had gotten taken over. And I was sitting there working, sweating. And I said to myself, my goodness, I let this thing just take over my entire yard. Now I got to be out here 2 or 3 weekends in a row to kill this thing or get it out of the yard. Well, that's how it is with a narcissist. You allow them to slowly come in there and you say, I'm not going to put up with that. I'm not going to do such and such. And they apologize and they make it sound so well. So they make it difficult. They make it hard for them to leave. See, why do you think, and I'm going to use one of your old videos about it, why do you think Will Smith hasn't left Jada Pinkett? She makes
Come
it
on now.
hard for him to leave. It's not that he's not been embarrassed. He knows he's been embarrassed. It's not
Yes.
hard for him to see that she's making him look a certain way.
Yes.
Oh, people say, well, it's the money and you don't want to get divorced and lose the money. He can make more money. He probably would make more money if he did that. But the
Yes.
thing about it is they have put so much power in what they say to you that you don't want to leave or you fear leaving. And that's the problem. You fear leaving, but it's really the opposite. They fear you leaving. They don't want you to go. They don't, because now they're back to, I'm alone. I can't control things. I don't know what my life is going to be. And they spiral out. And see, the thing about it is, when you get into a relationship with a person, or you even go to work for a person who's like this, they imprint their narcissistic ways on you. And eventually you come across somebody who's not narcissistic, and then you start to imprint narcissistic values and ways on that person.
Yes.
And you don't even realize it.
Yes.
And then maybe 5, 10 years down the line, because you notice, hey, if I get a little snippy, or hey, if I tell them if you don't do this, then there's going to be consequences, and you talking in this mannerism that really isn't proper.
Yes.
And then you start noticing that. Next thing you know, you say to yourself, well, hey, I can get my way. And now, guess what? The person who wasn't a narcissistic person, who was underneath somebody's thumb who was narcissistic, and you necessarily got away from them, guess what you've become? Just like the person you got away from.
Oh man. Oh yes. You learn that behavior.
You
You said
pick
it
it up.
happened. You're so right about it. You're making so many different great points. You talk about how gradual it is. Anytime we see a serial killer like Ted Bundy or any serial killer, when you go back and look at the docu-series, they start all the way back over when they was a child.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, when they asked the mom and the dad, how was he when he was 3? He was very isolated to himself. He never fed in. He killed the cat. It's gradually over time in the years, and you think the behavior is nothing, but then the behavior grows. And we learn manipulation as kids.
Mm-hmm.
Though I have 2 girls. They know how to work daddy. You hear me? If they want
Yeah.
candy, if they
Yeah.
want snack, they know how to get to daddy. Hey, daddy, good morning, daddy. Love you, daddy. They set me up. They already know what they got planned.
Right.
And something that innocent seems like it's nothing, but then as you grow and you become an adult and you learn how to get your way, you learn how to get what you want, you learn how to control and manipulate and gaslight and trick people and have them wrapped around your finger so you can get what you want. It happens. And you said it, we learned this, we picked this up. Now, you make a valid point also about how, we want to move forward with it. And you brought up Jada Pinkett and Will Smith. It's so real because she said constantly that Will Smith was not making her feel good, and they're separated for 7 years. That's why she behaved the way that she behaved, right? She talked about how she wasn't sexually satisfied. Now she just released the book on October the 17th, and I'm speaking from what I read because I've read a lot of her chapters in the book. She admits, Albert, before Will Smith even came into the picture, she was already unhappy. She already felt like she wasn't enough. She already felt like she wasn't satisfied. But now she's bringing this into the relationship. In the book, she acknowledged and admit she married Will Smith thinking that he was going to make her happy.
Yeah, they're putting on this expectation that you're supposed to make things better. And when it doesn't, they get mad at you for it. And that's why it becomes your fault and not their fault. Because they come in and say, well, you know how I was. It's just like a person who is a pragmatic, cheater. They get into a relationship with somebody, and whether male or female, doesn't matter. They just pragmatic. You know that they cheat. They cheat all the time. They can't sit still. And then they get in a relationship with the nicest, most wonderful person. And then when they cheat, they be like, well, you know how I am. Like, you knew this when you got with me.
Yeah.
Now, you may have known that, but that's because we go into, and this is the title of your show today, we go in thinking, oh, but they'll be different with me.
Come on now.
I can fix them. I can fix them. There's no way that they're going to do this to me, not me. I'm different from all the rest of you people. And you think you can do it. And this happens to men and women alike. Don't just think, hey, this is just, women act a certain way like this. And they get a bum man and they get in a relationship and they think they can groom him up and get him to where he needs to be at. No, it happens to men just as well. They think they can get a woman and, she's a certain way and you can't even control that woman. And it's not for a fact of, hey, I'm the man, you the woman, I gotta control you. I'm talking about she is out of control, but it's your fault that she's out of control. She's gonna embarrass you every chance she gets, or he's gonna embarrass you every chance he gets. And it could be publicly, but here's the thing about it. Even if it's done publicly, it's worse when it's at home because now it's personal.
Yes.
They get nasty when it's at home and there's no one else around. It's personal. Now they really let you know how they feel. And you think, well, don't they love me? Don't they care about me? It's and it's like, I still keep going back to the battered person, whether it's a child, whether it's an adult. You get battered. After a while, you start seeking out relationships that will batter you. And if that person doesn't batter you, you then force the issue because you want them to batter you because this is all you know now.
Yeah,
and if you get, a pattern. So it's the same way with this narcissism. We get so comfortable with that. Now we have to seek out individuals that are like that. And you have to break that. You have to tell yourself, hey, I can't be like this. Now, that only comes from self-reflection, healing, maybe some counseling, some therapy, whatever it takes. Some people can go work out. Some people can pray on it. Some people can actually go to doctors and talk to them and work these things out. But you have to work on yourself because before you can go anywhere and do anything, you have to understand that one, you need to forgive yourself. First and foremost, because look, we all make mistakes. We all saw warning signs. We all saw the red flags and we continued. And in my situation, I saw the red flags and everything and I continued thinking it'll be different. Yeah. Thinking, oh, well, I'm this type of dude. My life is going to be better for this individual if I just stay the course. No, it don't matter what you do. When they are like this, it doesn't matter what you do. So now when you've got involved with that person, you have to forgive yourself for not trusting your instinct. Because much like how sin is, when sin is presented to you, you can find a solution to leave without doing that. But if you don't take the alternate road out, you're going to fall into that sin. Well, it's the same way regarding this narcissism. You're going to see the red flags. You're going to get the warning signs first. But if you decide to go ahead and run the red light, it's a green light to them.
Yeah.
And so you have to forgive yourself for that first, and then work on making yourself better and not living off of emotion, but actually living off of what not perception.
Yes.
Okay. Everybody's like, well, my perception of you is this, or let's be specific and find out what is the reality of things.
Yes.
My perspective, a person's perspective and perception is two different things. A perception is emotional, what I think of you, but the perspective is what the reality is.
Yes.
And you got to then look at the perspective of people that you get involved with. What is the reason why you're involved with them? Why are you talking to them? Are they on the same level as you? That's why they talk about being equally yoked. It's not just about can you get along? It's about, are you both steadily going down the journey in the same direction?
Yes.
Or does one have a secret agenda?
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. Is just sitting down. People say, well, how do I get out of it? You get out of it by loving yourself, healing yourself, taking care of yourself. I'm not saying go sit somewhere in a room by yourself and just disappear. No, I'm saying truly work on improving who you are, because this is what they don't want to see.
Yes.
They don't want to see you get improvement.
No.
You hear the people talk about, oh, you got a promotion on a job, but he may be unemployed. Oh, I've lost weight, but they may not have been able to lose weight. Or they may be insecure that you're losing weight because they don't want no one looking at you.
That's it. That's
You
it.
know, you know,
It's so
I've
much I
seen,
want to say. Go ahead. Go ahead. Whoa, this is powerful.
but it goes back and forth because you and I'm gonna stay in that area right there, because I've heard individuals, they be like, oh, you trying to go in the gym? You trying to I like you for where you are. Because
Come on, Albert.
they do not want you to get a self-esteem. They do not want that attention to shift off of them and go on to you. Now all of a sudden they trying to keep you where you feel miserable anyways about yourself. They don't want you to feel good about yourself. They don't want you to be happy about yourself. We should love ourselves first before we start trying to love somebody else. My mother has always said this: if you can't stand to be alone by yourself and love yourself, how are you going to expect someone to stand to be alone with you and love you?
Yes.
And if you are miserable, that's exactly what they want, so they can control you and
Yes.
shackle you. And that's a bond that's hard to break. It's not unbreakable, but it's a bond that is hard to break. And if you're in a relationship with them and you may have created a soul tie with them, you're in a world of a long battle. It can be done, but it's going to be a battle, and you're going to
It,
have to be proficient at it.
you know what? You're so right, because it may even take you years, depending on the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us, because the holidays are coming, we're going to have to distance ourselves from certain family members. It's the holidays. Somebody is watching and you're dreading Thanksgiving because you know you're getting ready to get criticized. You don't want to go over to the family house to eat dinner because you know they're going to talk about, oh, you gained weight. It may be a sister or brother and they just pick on you, but it's destroying you. And I'm bringing this up because Albert has went really deep and talk about things and issues that we face as a kid. I was verbally abused, and my grandmother said, sticking stones won't break your bones, may break your bones, but words will never hurt you.
Boy,
Stick
that's a
or
lie.
stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. I learned very early that was a complete lie. I understood where my grandmother was coming from and the intent of it, but that's a false statement. She was trying to help me to overcome and say, don't worry about words, but words can kill, words can destroy, words to bring you down. And he brought up so many issues. I want to talk about this so you can hear it. The savior complex. you cannot save the narcissist.
Mm-mm.
Albert just shared a solution that's going to help you move forward, and that's you working on you. I call it the inner work. And I want to break this down because I believe in Jesus Christ. I am a Christian. Okay. I believe in God. I studied theology. I've been studying the Bible over 20 something years. And I've been in organized religion. I understand the church. I understand the Baptist church. I understand the Methodist church. I understand the Holiness church. I've been a minister in the church on staff. I've been in deliverance. I understand all these different dynamics. One thing that I discovered through my journey, there's still work I got to do. After Jesus delivered me and saved my soul, there's still things I have to work on about me that God is waiting on me to do. God wants me to have self-control. His spirit helps me, but I have to meditate and reflect on his word. And Albert shared that. He said, you got to work on you. And this is what it really means. Some of us just believe God is just going to fix everything for us. God is helping us and helping us navigate. I believe right now you're watching and you're like, I just believe in Jesus and I prayed about it. God is allowing you to go through this process. He did not cause it. He's allowing you to go through this process so you can get stronger and learn to say no, because there's codependency there. Remember when Jesus was tempted by Satan? Jesus had to learn to say no. He was able to say no because he was God in the flesh. But why was Jesus tempted? So he can face the enemy in the face and say, no, get thee behind me, Satan. Albert, you talked about the low self-esteem. It's hard to say, get thee behind me, Satan, when I got low self-esteem and the narcissist is validating me, giving me breadcrumbs of fake love, giving me breadcrumbs of fake praise, making me feel good about myself. When they in that grandiose state of mind and they feeling like they're bigger than life and we're hanging out and it's fun and it's exciting and it's thrilling. And let's talk about it. The emotional and the physical is exciting. They give you a taste of something you ain't never tasted before. They get you involved in things that you've never been involved with before. They do it gradually, and you're not strong enough at this time to say, "Get thee behind me." Say,
it's a roller
have you
coaster ride.
Have you noticed this, Albert? I want to share this, and I want you to jump in. Before Jesus was led into the wilderness by the Spirit of God, he fasted and prayed first, so he could be strong enough to be able to overcome the temptation of the devil.
Yeah.
Picture the narcissist like the devil. You're in this wilderness, but you hadn't prayed and worked on yourself. You hadn't fasted and pushed away things that you don't need. So now you're in this battle and you can't win the battle. God is in the battle with you. He's carrying you, but at some point you got to get strong enough and put on the full armor of God. You have to put it on. And I feel this so strong. You're watching right now and you're like, I already prayed about it. Great. And God heard you. Now he's giving you wisdom. Now he's giving you insight. Now he's giving you tools. He's giving you resources and things that you can do for yourself to heal and overcome.
Yep. Because, faith without works is dead, right?
Yes.
Thing about it is also during the fast, he fasted for 40 days and for 40 nights.
Yes.
Do you know that fasting cleans out impurities? Fasting takes, initially the first 3 to 5 days, you are hungry beyond reason. Then after it goes away. Your hunger subsides because your stomach is cleaning, it's resting. There's no need. All the dead cells in your body is getting cleaned out. So impurities are leaving. That's why he was able to, hey, look, no, because he didn't have anything within him left that would be impure from just eating foods and things of that nature to cause him. Because if he was just 2 or 3 days he would fasted, he'd probably said, yeah, let me go ahead and turn these stones into bread. I'm ready to eat.
I'm ready to eat. Come on, let me do this.
Let me go ahead and do this. But, we can speculate all we want to. But the bottom line is faith without works is dead. You've got to put in the work because the power of the tongue is between life and death. There you can kill or you can uplift. And trust me, they're not trying to uplift you. Oh, they're trying to manipulate you, and they'll use uplifting words and things of that nature at the time that is convenient for them, not you.
Yes.
Them, not you. If they feel that you start to leave away, they're going to go on top of you. They're going to blast you. The moment you start talking bad about yourself, they'll try to say some stuff like, oh, but that's why I love you. That's why this, and this. So you think, oh, yeah, see, they love me. No, they don't love you. Because if they loved you, they wouldn't treat you that way.
Yes.
If they truly loved you, they wouldn't treat you that way. So, yes, you have to put in the work, you have to put in the effort, and you have to learn how to truly look at yourself and say, hey, I'm worth something. Because guess what? Nobody was put here to just be not worth anything.
Yes, you
We
are
can
worth
talk about
something.
we can talk about so many things. Well, this happened to me. Well, okay, we can live in the past of what happened, or we can live in the present and what you can currently do.
Yes.
You can currently live in the past, which is like being in depression, or you can live currently and make some things happen and move. That's where
Yes.
the mountains move from here to there because you're in the present. If you ain't having anxiety and you sitting up there, well, what about this and what about that? That's because they didn't gaslighted you so much that you can't even focus on what's going on right now.
Yes.
You're so concerned about what potentially could happen. They giving you anxiety and depression at the same time, so you don't know if you're coming or going.
Yeah, they're
You
doing
you
it. Oh,
you're being pulled, tug of war.
yeah,
You're being
yeah, they're
literally
doing it.
split down the middle, and a double-minded individual, well,
Can't receive. You cannot
can't
receive.
nothing.
Yeah.
And see, and that's what the big struggle is. That's why a lot of people be like, oh, well, I just can't get away from them, and or I just can't do, they because they have you so wishy-washy. And then the
Yep.
people who see what's happening, just like they see what's occurring with you, and they
Yeah.
telling you, you need to get out. You need to you need to move on. And you just will refuse and no, that's the one. That's the one you choosing. Yeah, that's the one I'm choosing. You sticking to him, I'm sticking to him. Same way, no matter who it is, you are so wishy-washy because you won't sit down and look at the
Yeah.
present. You're just constantly remembering, hey, this and this. And they're gonna, like I said, they're going to look for individuals they can control.
Yeah.
A person who has confidence, a person who believes in themselves, a person who walks around with their head up, a person who thinks that they can get something accomplished no matter how hard they work. They know they can get it done. May take them longer than some people, may take them shorter than some people. They can't touch them. So they won't even bother them. Matter of fact, they may even shriek away from those individuals. But that person who's quiet, who's holding their head down, and they say something to them and say something really pleasant. Oh, you look nice today. Oh, thank you. Or it could be a guy, and so come, I put a nice pair of shoes on you and a nice shirt, you look actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really, really?
Yeah.
Because we as individuals, we starve for attention and love. A lot of people say, what is it that we need? Food, shelter, and love or attention. That's the three big things that we need as individuals. They had a study where they take an infant that was premature and they just left them in the incubator. No interaction with anyone. Child died.
Yep.
But the child was premature. Put him in the incubator. The mother was there touching on the baby. The father was there touching on the baby, and the nurses, everybody was interacting, talking, saying things to the baby. The baby survives. Now, why is that? Because the child didn't feel like I was being loved. Well, I guess I'll go ahead and not fight for this, and I'm just gonna go ahead and die. And
Yep.
guess what? When you don't feel like you are valued, loved, that's how you feel. And people will say, well, you know, you shouldn't talk about the S word. Well, guess what? The S word is a valid situation. It's a valid thing. And if we don't start really thinking about, how can I not feel like this? And really start focusing on who we are as individuals, we're going to constantly live in certain cycles until you learn how to get beyond that cycle. I've gone years living certain cycles. Be like, man, I just can't get out of this rut. Well, why does this always keep happening to me? Because I haven't learned the lesson. You have to learn the lesson that's being given to you before you can progress. And when it's dealing with narcissistic ways, this is a disorder. Let's just call it what it is. It is a personality disorder that a person has, and they apply it based on you. They have a lack of empathy. They have a lack of bonding and connection to you as a person. It's no, what's the word I'm looking for? There is no thing that's difficult or incorrect about you as a person. That's just their inability to be empathetic to you.
And you
They just
brought it
don't
up.
care. They just
You
don't
brought
care.
it up. They don't care, and you brought it up, and I want you to keep sharing, but they don't feel love themselves.
Mm-mm.
They don't feel like they have been loved like you shared about that baby. And because they don't feel love, that's why they need you around.
Mm-hmm.
Because you know what real love is. They don't know what real love is, right? They don't feel it.
Right.
Everybody has abandoned them. Everybody has rejected them that they wanted to be with. And so now they like, you know what? I become numb. I don't have the inability. I don't understand. I don't have empathy, but they need you around so you can validate, encourage them, praise them. You brought up something about the savior complex, and I want to share this because we're getting close to us getting ready to close. Somebody is watching and you don't realize you're codependent. Now, I can speak to this because a lot of my friends say, well, Quest, why you don't talk a lot about yourself? When they watch my videos, I teach and I share a lot, and they don't really hear a whole lot of my story. It's because I've studied so much on narcissistic, I make sure I don't keep the focus on me. So from time to time, I will share different situations for examples for you to understand. You may not know that my dad was on drugs his whole entire life. He's still on drugs off and on his whole entire life, even right now. My mom, rest in peace, she's passed away. She had that same struggle as well. My grandmother was codependent. I learned codependency from her behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was engaged in all these narcissistic relationships, I never knew I was codependent, always trying to fix it. And
Mm-hmm.
Albert, doing my work, you brought up we have to work on ourselves. During the time I was working on myself, doing the inner work and reflecting, I realized because my dad never loved me the way I thought a man or a father should love. He was focused on drugs. Drugs was his love. He had other issues going on. My mom, the same thing. I saw my mom every weekend. My grandmother adopted me. My grandmother was trying to save her son. And I was always in the state through her behavior trying to make things right so my dad can change. And
Mm-hmm.
one day I broke down. I cried. Me and him got into a fight because he always wanted to fight with me and tell me what to do. And all this anger and rage in me, I feel like he couldn't tell me what to do because you haven't been around. You've been in and out of jail your whole life. I live with your parents. You're not taking care of me. You never bought me a gift. You never bought me a birthday gift. You never said I love you. You never said I'm proud of you. And it's nothing worse than having your father around and he not be a father. So when I was about the age of 18, Albert, me and my dad got into it because he lived with us at the time when he went in jail. My grandparents adopted me. I lived with them, and he tried to tell me to clean up the kitchen and clean up some dishes. Woo! And I'm 18. You talking about the rage that came out of me? And I confronted him. But because of my heart and because I really loved him and I really wanted a father, I broke down and I cried like a baby. And I fell in his arms and I said, I just want you to be my dad. I just want you to love me. I was craving love, craving a father figure. You know what he said to me? I cannot be your father, but I can be your.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since then, I stopped calling him dad. I started calling him by his first name while actually doing it even when I was younger. And we were just friends. We were just friends. What's my point? My grandmother went to her grave trying to fix my dad. That is codependency. I didn't recognize it. And I was always throughout relationships trying to be the hero and the savior of the relationship. And that's something that I had to work on. I had to learn to say no. I had to learn to stop changing my plans for other people.
Mm-hmm.
I would do that all the time. I would have a plan to fast. Somebody in the church want to go to the movies, I would break my fast so because I want to go to the movies with the group so they won't be mad at me. That's codependency. And I had to break the spirit of codependency off of me. I don't always share this, but I shared it with you and I opened up because I just felt in my spirit, you're watching and you need to hear it. And Albert, you open that vein up. I appreciate you for talking so clearly, so thorough, and you're transparent. And I know somebody is watching this and they're being helped, they're being healed. The process has begun.
Yep, it's that pleasing cycle because you can't. And here's the thing about it, and you can take it where you want to need to with it. We have that savior complex or the superwoman, superman complex.
Yes.
We're gonna save you. We're gonna fix it. But here's the problem: if somebody's broken and something is wrong with a person, they are a person, not an object, not a thing. They are an actual human being. They are a person. They have a spirit, a mind,
Yes.
a body, emotions. If they're broken, you can't fix them. You can give them suggestions, you can give them ideas, you can show them things, you can give them examples, you can be supportive, but you will never fix them until they are really ready, to fix themselves. Same way I've had people in my family who were, hooked on drugs. We all have somebody in the family, and you will not stop using drugs until you're ready to stop using drugs. You just like people say, well, I'm going to pray for you and I'm going to get you saved and you're going to go to heaven. No, you
Yeah.
can't. You can't do anything. You as a person cannot. You can leave good information. You can plant the seed, but that's all you can do. I can't get you anywhere. I can only assist, guide, suggest. But until that person wants to do something, you can't fix them.
Mm-hmm.
And you will never fix them because they have to want to do the work themselves. They have to want to do that work. And if they don't want to do the work, they're not going to. I do personal training from time to time. And I've had people, they dropped weight. It was miraculous. I was like, oh my goodness, the best client in the world.
Yes.
And then I've had people don't want to do it. They don't want
And
to
they
put in the
just don't
work.
want to do it. Yeah.
And they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
I got to do what? Oh, I'm not doing that. Okay, well, all right. Well, then could you do this? I'm not doing that either. Okay, well, what are we doing at the gym today? What are we going to do? We've been up here for 30 minutes. You still, everything I'm showing you, you're telling me no. Or, hey, I need you to eat this way. Oh, that's nasty. I don't like water. It don't taste that way. Well, if you're not going to put in the work, I can't help you.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And we have to be able to do that. You're watching right now. We're getting ready to close here shortly. Do you have any questions? Drop the questions in the comment. I can see your comment. I want to answer any question you may have. Don't be afraid. We're not going to embarrass you and be critical of you. Any question, because we're planting seeds right now. I love what you talked about, how we can't do it. The scripture talks about that, how one plant, one water, and that's all we can do. One till the ground. But I want to share this with you. You're watching this and you're trying to figure out if this is my fault or not. We all have a part to play in it, but you cannot take the blame of all of it. That accountability, self-accountability is important. But I see so many people that get in the relationship, how I talked about the codependency. Now, I can't say the whole relationship is my fault because two is better than one. So when you're in a relationship, one person had a part in it, the other person have a part in it. And that's why I love how Albert said that we can just begin to work on us, not focus on ourselves in a narcissistic way where it's about me, 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 me. I don't care about nobody, but it's about me, self-love. I need to be mentally, emotionally healthy. I need to be balanced. Those are the states that you want to engage in, because if you do that, I promise you, your eyes will open up.
You'll set boundaries. You'll have
Yes.
more, and you'll just walk differently. You'll behave differently. I mean, because bottom line is, we all can be better. We all can improve.
Yep.
But that takes you taking one step at a time. Martin Luther King said it best. The staircase is there, but you don't know until you take that first step.
Yes.
It's there, but you got to take that first step. You know, if you want to make $1 million, you can make $1 million, but you got to take the first step. You got to continue until you make that $1 million.
Yes.
Everything that you want can be accomplished. Don't use crutches. Don't use excuses. Don't use something that, oh, well, I can't do it because of this. I can't do it because of that. I can't do it because of this person. Or they already rich, so what's the use? All these different excuses don't work. A person who says, you know what, I'll get there in my time. I'll get there one day at a time, one bit of effort. You go, and I tell people this all the time. You go to the gym to go work out.
Yes.
First day, you don't see anything. Whether you're putting on muscle, whether you're trying to lose weight, whether you're trying to get ready for a photo shoot, the first day, you don't see nothing. You look in the mirror, nothing. Second
Yes.
day, nothing. Third day,
Mm-hmm.
nothing. Fourth day, nothing. 2 weeks, still nothing.
Yes.
About 3 months go by. You really don't notice anything. And somebody says, oh, I see you've been working out. Keep up the good work. That's
Yes.
just motivation now. Let's go. Now you got
Mm.
the work to do. But as you do it and you do it, a year go by, 2 years go by, 3 years go by. And now all of a sudden, everybody's asking you for advice. How did you do this? How are you able to sit on that Stairmaster for 30 minutes? How are
Yes.
you able to, like, you have all the ideas? It was because you took it one step at a time and you took it day by day, living in the what? Present moment. If you believe that you are, you know you will be. That's
Yes.
how it is. I have very high confidence. I want everyone around me to have high confidence, not because it makes me feel good, not because that's how I am and they have to be like me. I want them to live an abundant life. I don't
Yes.
care who it is. I want your life to be abundant, brilliant, zestful, real. You don't even have to be a millionaire.
Yes.
You can make $30,000 a year and be content if that's who
Oh,
you are. If that's who
man.
you are. Some people, hey, I need to do this. I want to do this. Go for what you want, but do it in a manner of saying, hey, I'm doing this for me, not because I can look better than someone. I'm doing this for me because this is going to enrich my personal life, not because I can sit down and say, look what I did, but you didn't do it.
Yep.
Always look to see if you can then motivate, encourage, and have someone else's life be better as well.
You
Because what
talk
I
about
want,
something.
yeah,
Whew,
because
go ahead. You talk about something.
what I want, somebody else may not want. I like Cadillacs. Not everybody wants a Cadillac. Some people just want a Dodge Ram pickup truck. If that's your goal, get the Dodge Ram pickup truck. But
Yes.
don't sit down and let other people's ways, behaviors, attitudes keep you from doing what you have been placed on this planet to do. Everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a job and an assignment given to them. Now, you can neglect it if you want to, but everyone has some type of purpose and job and assignment. And if you just sit down and just listen and be still for a little bit, you might find out your life will skyrocket in a way that you may not even know.
I'm telling you, Albert, you didn't share so much insight tonight. We're gonna have to hit replay. I'm gonna have to chop up this video because it's so much content. You use great examples. I can tell you're a coach, you're a trainer because you share parables in a way that we can grasp. When you talked about working out in the gym, that muscle, to develop that muscle and to train, that's the same thing we have to do with our emotional muscle, our spiritual muscle, our mental muscle. But it's challenging because now we're living in the time where you can just go have surgery. I just saw a video of someone who had surgery and boom, they got a bigger buttocks
Yeah.
and a flatter stomach. But then I saw a woman who trained for 2 years to get the body she wants. And what I like about the training and what you're sharing, because not only did she get the body, she got the emotional, she detox, she got the mental, the process, the skill set. When you go through the journey and don't just take the instant microwave way, you get so much more from it. If you put food in the microwave to heat it up or cook food, that's great if you're on the go. But if you take your time and cook a real good meal, you get more nutrients inside of you. And this is what we want. We want to close out this broadcast here right now, letting you know, take this information, the part that was planted into you that benefits you the most, and continue to take those steps. If you take those steps, you're going to see the growth. Don't give up. Don't quit. When you feel like you ain't growing, when you feel like it's not working, you've been working out for a month and your muscle's still the same size, you only lost 5 pounds, stick with it. When you're crying and you did good and you told them, no, I'm not coming over to watch Netflix and chill, you already know, ladies. He calling you at 11 p.m. talking about he want to hang out and watch Netflix. You know what time it is. And I know your flesh get to stirring. Look at him on the phone and say, not tonight. And if you do that, that muscle gonna get stronger. And then maybe you said, yes, and maybe you said it 7 times in a row. Then, night 8, you just fail. Get back up. Don't go back and say, well, I just give up. Get back up and develop that muscle. Because I'm gonna say this as we close. No, it's not a curse word, guys. When you tell someone no, you don't even have to be rude about it. There are so many different ways. There are so many different ways you can let somebody know. If I had to go back over my life, which I can't, I would have said, not this time. I would have made sure that my mental, emotional, spiritual health was a priority like it is now. But I only learned the lesson because I've been through it. Albert, close us out. We got about a couple minutes. Close us out with your last thoughts.
Boundaries. That's what it's all about. Making yourself have boundaries. Saying no is a boundary. Let your yeses be your yeses and your no's be your no's. You don't have to please everyone. You don't have to be in servitude to please. That's not your role. Your role is to enrich people's life with who you are inside, who you are internally. See, those are the gifts that you give to the world to make the world more beautiful, to make the world more abundant, which enriches your life. And because you are enriching other people's lives, they're going to have their gifts to enrich your life. And that's what it's about. And people say, well, that's fairy tale. That's fairy tale. That's not happening. If you start enriching people's lives and pouring greatness from gifts from within you, I'm not saying save somebody. We're not saving anyone. We're just saying pouring gifts out, enriching people's lives from your worth with boundaries that are set. Then guess what? They were going to do the same back to you, because like is going to attract like. If birds of the same feather are going to flock together. Yeah. There are certain boundaries that are set in place. There are certain hierarchies in life that are set in place. And if you enrich a person's life, you get to certain levels. If you don't enrich a person's life, you don't get to certain levels. But it doesn't mean you are wrong. It doesn't mean you are bad or not, as fortunate. It just means that's just not your level over there. My brother says this, and I'll close. My brother, the magnificent Lee Walters, he was always been the person who I run behind. My brother always said, be the Michael Jordan of anything that you do. Now, that's his era. Michael Jordan is his era. And he said, look, I don't care if I'm scrubbing toilets. I don't care if I'm flipping burgers. I don't care if I'm a taxi driver. I'm going to be the best, whatever it is. Period. Hands down. He is the best brother to me. He is the best son to my mother. Even though I think I am, he is the best son to my mother. He is the best everything he does. He doesn't do anything unfocused, without purpose, without drive and determination. If you live your life with purpose, drive, and determination, and you be fair, hey, the world's your oyster.
And there's nothing else for me to say, but Albert, thank you. Thank you from the depths of my heart. I hope we do this again. We
Oh yeah.
need men talking to each other. And I love because we talked from a perspective that people can grasp. We didn't just limit it to the spiritual. We just didn't limit it to the psychological. We just didn't limit it to the romantic relationship. We open it up in different ways to show you the dynamics of life. And so you can navigate it. Albert, thank you. Connect with Albert on social media, Albert Walters the second. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, go ahead and do it, because one thing I'm going to promise you, you will not regret subscribing, because every video I'm going to be sharing insight. Thank you and have a good night. Thank you, Albert. I'll talk to you soon.
No problem. Hit that like